Good morning, Softball America, and welcome back to the show. After a hectic week 2, we are glad that you're here. I've got my coffee. I'm Gray Robertson. That is Tara Henry. I am back in the great state of Alabama, although I am leaving to go call another game in like 4 hours. Tara, you are still in Tampa, Florida. How are you, my friend?
I'm so good. I know we've been trying to figure out when to get on here, and I just appreciate everyone for being flexible because it's that time. It's softball season, so we're all traveling and just excited to be here and talk about this past weekend because gosh, it's been really fun, Gray. I know there's been some crazy upsets, but it feels like we're almost in mayhem in February.
I mean, I guess, that's what we want, right? And we want to hear from all of you. The chat, I already see the blue icon. Things are popping. Of course, Fang Nai is here. Good morning, Tara and Gray. We want to hear from you. Hit us up in the chat. Tell us where you're watching, where you're listening. We will do a couple top 25 question and answer situations later on in the show. Tara, there was one Twitter comment that we got that I would love to dive into because I'm sure we both have different thought processes and how to answer that question. We will, of course, do a lot in terms of recapping the weekend, Clearwater, everything that happened around Clearwater. And also, Tara, we're going to talk to a coach who was coaching in Clearwater a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm excited. Head coach Stacey Deniz. I was able to speak with her at length in Clearwater, and just excited about the Aztecs and what they've been able to do thus far in the season. So excited to have her on the show.
Yeah, so that'll be in about 15 minutes or so. We'll also get ready for this weekend. We got the Mary Nutter coming up. We have some big games across the college landscape as well, including a little tussle in Tucson that I think is going to get some eyes over there in Arizona. Of course, Tara, what do the people need to do? Subscribe. Hit up the YouTube page, follow all the social media accounts, like, comment, share, spread the word. Let people know that, yes, indeed, there is softball content and you should be paying attention.
Yeah, head on over to the site and let us know what you think. We've also got our top 25 rankings on the front page, finally. So let us know what you think about the website. And we're going to have some more updates because I did get to chat with the On3 folks. I had a nice little conference in Nashville. And so there's going to be a few updates, and hopefully we can have those throughout the season.
Couple more things from the chat. Nick Tarina. Hello, kids.
Hey,
Hello.
Nicholas. Thanks for joining us.
We've
How about
got,
them LSU Tigers? Woo!
hey, you think that's coming up? I got a whole bullet
Yep.
point about LSU. Good morning to you both from, I believe that is just a period. So, hello.
Hey, good morning.
Andrew Bond, hi from Ohio. And Rebecca says, hey, guys.
Good morning.
Hello. We are in recovery from Clearwater, a weekend where sleep was not a thing, where thankfully outside of like I guess a 3-hour window, weather issues weren't really a thing. Nice change compared to last year, and where Tara, the crazy results were all over the place. And we even commented last week, perhaps the NFCA Leadoff Classic had a quote unquote better overall field in opening week 1. But man, this week, if it was a lesser field, we certainly still got a lot of high quality softball games. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, it was so fun to watch. And being at the field from morning until night, I got to give a shout out to Amanda Scarborough and Matt Schumacher, who I think believe they had 12 or 13 games over the weekend. I think it got brought down to 12, but at the field all weekend long, calling games. And it was so beautiful. Again, like you said, outside those 2 hours, maybe that it rained on Sunday, but just incredibly fortunate to be back in Clearwater in Florida, and ESPN doing an impeccable job with the tournament this year. And yeah, a lot of fun games that I personally sat at and watched, which I love. I love when I choose the right game because that's what makes it so great for me.
Yeah, if you want to know how hectic the Clearwater schedule is, Tara, we were both there all weekend and we saw each other for 3 minutes,
Maybe
maybe
3 minutes. Yep.
maybe
That's how
three
wild it
minutes.
is. And it felt there was actually I felt like there were less games, or they just did a better job spacing out the games. but still, it was just difficult to do 8 and 9, and then head on over to fields 1 through 4. Getting on the trolley, I do have a video on the trolley. I did take the trolley a few times, and I did walk 2 times. So I did a little bit of everything. So if you haven't gone to the Clearwater, the Shriners Children's Clearwater Invitational, I suggest you go next year, because they also previewed the field for next year, and it's going to be a good one to watch.
Yeah, presented by Evo Shield, of course. We can't forget that part.
Sorry.
All right, so winners and losers from Clearwater. Who do you feel like was the biggest winner from what we saw this weekend?
I mean, they're all over the site. Brady and I were just talking about this, but Auburn, I really was impressed with Auburn, what the Malvos have been able to do with the Tigers thus far. S.J. Guerin, incredible. And then FSU, I've been able to watch a lot of the Knowles already in weeks 1 and 2, obviously down in Puerto Vallarta, and then now in Clearwater. Just really impressed with Annabelle Widra in the circle for them. I think she's doing a really nice job pounding the zone. She only has 1 walk in about 13 innings that she's thrown. And then Kennedy Hart, I can't say enough about the sophomore center fielder for Florida State, just getting it done. So Auburn, FSU, and then of course our guest, which we'll chat with her, the San Diego State Aztecs. And again, was at that game when they walked off Charlotte with a grand slam, Shannon Cunningham. So just 3 that obviously had really, really big weekends in Clearwater.
So, a little behind the scenes fun stuff. Auburn was staying at our hotel this weekend. So, you had Alabama and Auburn both at the same hotel in Clearwater. And it was interesting to kind of watch the Tigers milling about. We weren't all at the hotel at the same time because I felt like the schedules were kind of flipped in a way. Auburn will play typically early in the day. Some of the Alabama games were kind of in the afternoon and then later on in the day. But it was really interesting to talk to Riker Chasen for just a minute, ran into him in the hallway, to kind of see the team interact, got to see Riley Frizzell, who's a GA on the team, who I've known for years from the FGCL. And you could just kind of sense that the vibes are high and that there's a lot of belief. And then watching them on the field, I see Fang Nai popping in here, and we'll get to some of the other comments in a minute. But S.J. Guerin, one of our stars of the week, she was absolutely excellent. And you had a great tweet where you said the crafty lefty. And I felt like that's a great way to describe her, because her stuff isn't overpowering. She just finds a way to maneuver past you. She's slick, she's sly, and she was able to get a lot of the big outs that Auburn needed this weekend. And maybe, we found an answer to who's going to be the ace of that staff this season based on what we've seen for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think the combination of both SJ and Haley Rainey is going to be really good for the Auburn Tigers. And I can't say enough about Riker Chasen and what he's done with that pitching staff. He's got history doing well with left-handers. So I think that has been a really good pair. And like you said, crafty lefty, she's not going to overpower you, but she's tough as nails, and she makes pitches when they need to be made. Right? Like, there are certain pitchers that buckle down and are able to make those pitches. And she showed that this entire weekend. And I was able to watch behind the dish, and it was just simply impressive. Gray, I'm just really impressed with her, and she is a star, and I can't wait to see what she does in the SEC.
Rebecca has a good comment. Odd number year means FSU is going to be a problem for everybody. Every other year phenomenon. I feel good about it. I said this is FSU's year to go to the World Series, and last couple times they've been in the World Series, it's typically been a deep run. So, I like that.
Yeah, Rebecca, we're obviously going to put that up there because that is Gray's theory, and it has held true every year since when?
I think it's 2014. I'd have to look it up. It's in my notes somewhere. It's been over a decade. People are like, numbers aren't real. Well, history repeats itself a lot. Let's see. I want to flash a couple more of these hellos before I ask you about a team that really, even though like the results weren't awesome, there was an awesome ending and a bunch of tight games. I'm sure people can kind of guess who we're talking about. Rick Fisher, good icy morning from OKC. Ravi, good morning. Writing here for the future. 9:30 on Tuesday night from India. Go Bruins. Wow.
Hey, Ravi. Wow, I love international listeners and viewers. That's incredible.
Cheyenne, good morning. Tara, good morning. Gray. Let's see. And then we got a couple others pop in. Yeah, all right. So, by the way, the every other year theory is not necessarily an odd number theory because we have to keep in mind that the 2020 tournament did not play. So, we skipped 2020. That's how the every other year theory works out. Tara, I want to talk about Virginia.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Virginia because this is a team that has suffered heartbreak after heartbreak, and then they broke hearts on Sunday walking off UCLA. It was it's an interesting watch because I felt like I found myself just watching a lot of Virginia. For whatever
Yeah.
reason, because of the scheduling quirk, Alabama had a lot of games right after the Who's did, so we got to see a lot of these tough endings. And then we were all gathered together at brunch on Sunday watching that Virginia UCLA game. And I think we saw a lot of fight from the Cavs. And maybe it's Virginia that's going to be the real challenger up there with FSU and Duke in the ACC.
I think it could be great. And finally, on the right side of a one-run ball game, they are 5-5 with those heartbreaking losses again in week one to South Carolina, to Texas A&M, and to Auburn. Virginia is right there, and for the Hoos to come back and defeat a really tough one of the top teams in the country in UCLA. I think that's going to be a turning point. I think we're going to look back on week 2 and talk about Virginia's win over UCLA and how that catapulted the Hoos for the next couple of weeks here. But again, can't say enough, and really was pleased for them. I know if you're a UCLA Bruin, that was a tough loss, but I think Virginia had taken a few punches there and earned that win for them.
Is there anybody that you want to specifically highlight? We talked about some of the winners. We've talked about Virginia. There were also 12 other teams in this field. Who else should we mention?
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma State, again, a little bit of a roller coaster for the Cowgirls. But when you've got a team that can come from behind and win solid ball games in the last inning with 2 walk-offs, obviously Carly Godwin's walk-off, and then Rosie Davis had a huge weekend for the Cowgirls. And the bottom of the lineup, I talked to Kenny Gajewski about it. He's really been impressed with the bottom of the lineup. They're able to turn it over and get back up to Cheese, Megan Delgadillo, and really has done a nice job. Pitching is going to be an issue, and he was brutally honest when I talked to Kenny and said, "Hey, it's no secret we're not pitching very well right now." And I think when you take a look at Ruby Malin, behind Ruby, there was really question marks when everyone thought it was going to be Riley Crandall, and you're seeing Katie Coots become that number 2 as we head into week 3 here. She's done a really nice job and kept the ball down in the zone, something that she hadn't been historically used to. She was normally up ball and has an elite change. So I think when you take a look at Oklahoma State, up and down, but again, that team knows how to win. So and we'll get into the top 25 questions because I know people have a lot about
Yeah.
that. But watch Oklahoma State. I thought Liberty win over UCF last week before they traveled to Clearwater. That's going to be a tough team as well for any Power Four program or anybody that draws them in a regional. And South Carolina, I know not at Clearwater, but South Carolina 10-0 since first time since 1996.
That was
Like,
before I was born.
stop it. Really?
Yeah.
Before Gray was born?
Do the
Oh,
math,
geez.
y'all. Alabama did not have a team then.
Wow, incredible.
I will say a couple themes that stuck out to me in Clearwater that certainly we noticed in the games that we called, but also then we would watch other games and be like, oh, this is everywhere. 2-out hitting was really, really prevalent in Clearwater, and I think no better example, honestly, than that Oklahoma State Texas A&M game where Texas A&M was up 5-2 in the seventh, and Oklahoma State put up that 4 spot to walk it off, ending with the Carly Godwin 2-run homer. All
Yeah.
of that with 2 outs. 2-out hitting was very prevalent, and also production from the bottom of the order to turn it over to the top half. You talked about that. Oklahoma State did a really good job of that. Liberty did a really good job of that. I watched Florida State did a really good job of that. Like a lot of teams did a really, really good job of utilizing the bottom half to set up the top of the order to really produce.
Oh, absolutely great. And that just tells you, one of greatest coaches of all time, I think, still, Sue Inquist always said, all you need is one swing. So, again, I think Oklahoma State proved that. I think San Diego State proved that. I was able to see it across the board. So just exciting softball, and just can't wait to get into week 3 and see what we've got there.
I've been called an infant. Thank you, Rebecca. Cheyenne's with me. That was before she was born.
Dang.
Yeah, so
Wow.
there we go. Brady just texted and said that was before I was born.
Oh man.
I'm sorry. I hate to do it to you. I will say, I'm sure a lot of people are looking for my thoughts on the Alabama Crimson Tide and
Yeah,
what
I
we
was gonna say
saw.
that's next on the list. I was like waiting for you to preview. I'm just sitting back here.
Look, all right. So first off, Out of the Box is going to come out this week, but here's the thing. As we were driving back from Clearwater yesterday, we weren't going to record last night. I was like, Tom, go home to your wife and kids, see your family. We will record Tuesday, and then a game from Wednesday was moved to Tuesday. So we're going to record Wednesday. I think honestly, the Alabama question, maybe we'll get into that a little bit later with the top 25, because that I feel like is a great test case of how do you evaluate someone who's playing good softball and not winning, and where does that go in a poll, and how do you evaluate that overall? We'll have a lot of thoughts on Out of the Box this week. But Tara, I'm sure, I mean, you watched a lot of the games that Tom and I were calling this week, and I'm sure you have takes as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, a positive take. I was really, really impressed with Brick Elstad at third. I think she does a really, really nice job there and was a nice pickup. I think Alabama's going to have to figure out what they're going to be in the circle. I don't think Brisky is technically an ace at the moment, but she can be. She's got the stuff. And I think that pitch by committee approach is going to have to be accepted there for Bama. Tough, tough week. But again, playing quality opponents too. So I just want to earmark that too. I think people take a look at a record. Same thing with Oklahoma State. Pretty solid opponents that they're playing in strength of schedule wise. So again, you can play a cupcake schedule and win a ton of bowl games, but that's not going to challenge your squad early. And if that's something that you need to figure out and figure out who's going to be where and what and play where, I think playing quality opponents early can be really beneficial to some teams. Sometimes it doesn't work, but again, I think that's part of the conversation. And yeah, Bama's going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what's going on. And I know that you're going to talk about that on the podcast. And Rebecca, Caitlin Riley, she was very good as well.
Yeah, she threw well. We'll do a full deep dive. Trust me, we do the whole thing, the good, the bad, the bad for each week. So that'll be something to tune into. That will drop Thursday morning on the Out of the Box podcast feed. So our guest is going to join us in just a moment. We'll get back to Clearwater, I promise. But Tara, we also had a ton of great softball outside of the Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete bubble. And maybe I'll throw it in the ring. So far, the game of the year, the Texas Tech 9-inning pitchers duel between Nyjah Kennedy and Tegan Cavan. Sunday got off the rails, and I think that there's a Texas Tech conversation to be had. Maybe we'll have it later, but that was just two elite pitchers throwing haymakers. That was awesome. And then a literal haymaker to the face that ended it as Texas scored.
Well, at 13 strikeouts for Kavan, I'll let you in on a little secret. I texted Patty Ruth Taylor. I was like, okay, 13 Ks. This is at 13 for Kavan to get to 18, masterful, and was able to watch that in the hotel after games here in Clearwater. But again, I know we got a question from Seth too on Twitter. Does Texas have a weakness? I can't really see one right now. The only weakness I say would potentially be the defense. But
Maybe.
I don't. That's it. That's in the past. I don't see that happening now. So I'm not seeing a weakness right now for Texas. I think that's a pretty tough squad.
Yeah, you watching that game on Friday night, and same deal. We got back to the hotel, we got some dinner. We were like, let's watch the last couple innings, and then I went to extras, and it was just so riveting. And and then I went back and watched, and it like Texas. It felt like Texas was in control. Even though it was a 0-0 game for such a long time, and that's a sign of a team that really is confident in who they are and is firing on all cylinders, even when they're tied or losing, they still feel like they're in control of the game. That means that this is a team that's got something special. And there's no hole in the lineup. Like Texas threw Tegan Cavan twice against Texas Tech because they could. They've got other people there as well, but yeah, I'm not sure where the drop off is for Texas, and even with Nija pitching quite well on Friday, it still wasn't enough for Texas Tech to win.
Yeah, 14 home runs as a squad, and 76 RBIs with Katie Stewart. She's leading that team with 18 RBI. Reese is right behind her with 15. I've got their stats up here. Kaden Henry's hitting 500. She's got two triples, a home run, 8 RBIs at the top there. Just so explosive. Just an offense that is really, really tough to go up against. And then you've got a pitching staff that, again, it is just as difficult. So I would say right now I don't see any weaknesses for Texas softball.
Fang Nai says Tech was not a threat on offense against Cavan. Very disappointing. Do we want to have a Texas Tech conversation? Because Nija was great in the circle. Offensively, they struggled both games against Texas, and the pitching behind Nija against a lineup like Texas, which, to be fair, that's a top 5 offense in America and will be all year. Most pitching staffs will struggle against Texas, but I think, quite frankly, it showed that Texas Tech just isn't there right now, and that they're a step below where Texas is at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And thanks, Fang, for that comment. I think when you take a look at Jerry Glasgow and what he's been able to do with his teams historically, I think by the end of the year, we're going to see a little bit of a different offense. I think they're still trying to figure it out. And, Nija's used to throwing with little offense. And I think
Notable that Stanford is currently first in America in batting average. That kind of popped off the screen.
which is incredible. I take the words out of my mouth, Gray. I was literally going to say, and hey, look at Stanford's offense now. Like, you wonder if it's because you've got Nija in the circle that, you don't have to score as many runs because she's going to hold it down, right? I just, it's incredible to me. But I think tracking Texas Tech's offense this whole year is going to be really interesting. And I know Jason will have the composite stats up on the site Wednesday. They'll be up for everybody to take a look at. So those are going to be really interesting to see.
Florida and Duke played a couple games. The first game, Florida cruised, run rule victory, got all on top of Cassidy Curd. I mean, they were hitting bombs in the first inning. Taylor Shoemaker continues to do her thing. The second game, Keegan Rothrock threw. Florida had some errors. I think she gave up 8 runs. 3 of those were earned. Duke ended up winning 8-1. I was impressed with the way Duke bounced back. If they were going to win a game, I didn't think it would be not the Cassidy Curd game 1 situation. But I don't know. Like, Florida just kind of had one of those moments that we've seen a lot of teams have in the first 2 weeks where they just kind of got stuck in a funk and were throwing the ball around and made some mistakes. And I don't think Florida sounded the alarm bells at all, but it was kind of a disconcerting loss, just a little bit, especially at home.
Yeah, and then when you take a look at obviously an 8-1 loss when an offense like Florida has and has been doing so well to be held to just one solo shot by Mia Davis. Again, I don't think it's any alarm bells need to be sound for either Florida or Duke. I think this says more about Duke and Duke's ability to come back and not get beat twice by a squad. So I think I'm more impressed with Duke and their ability to bounce back than I am really worried about Florida. It happens, and if you're going to lose, you want to lose to a high quality opponent.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Cassie Kerr was better the second time, but I don't know. It was kind of flipped to how I thought it would be. I thought if there was going to be a possible Duke win or a tight game, it would be in game 1, the first time Florida was seeing Curd. But you never know. This sport is funky. All right, we'll get back to stuff around the country in just a moment, but let's journey back to Clearwater, where we both were, and where the person joining us now guided her team to an undefeated record down at the Clearwater Invitational presented by Evo Shield. I just missed so much stuff. Shout out to Shriners Children's. It is time to bring in the great Stacey Nuveman Deniz, the head coach of the San Diego State Aztecs. Hi, Coach. Welcome in.
Good morning. How we doing?
Wonderful. It's good to see you. And we've got to recap what your team did this past weekend in Clearwater. How impressed were you by the way that they battled and won in so many different ways this weekend?
Yeah, we took the trek across country to, to challenge ourselves and to put ourselves up against great competition in a pretty spirited and energetic environment. And I think we got that and then some. I was really, I mean, truthfully kind of blown away with how we responded. And not to say that I didn't believe that we had that in us, but for it being week 2 of the season, you never quite know how that's going to all kind of come together. And the great news is that we were playing postseason softball in February. The bad news is we've got a long season ahead of us, and I don't want us to be peaking too early. So I'm not gonna borrow trouble, and just gonna be happy that we did what we did, and really pleased with all the ways, like as you said, the ways we won and the people who stepped up and had big moments, made defensive plays, big offensive, come throughs, big strikeouts or big outs recorded by our pitchers in different moments. So it was truly a team weekend of victories, and yeah, I couldn't be more proud of our group.
And Nuvi, Cece Solaria in the circle, talk about how you've seen her grow and what you saw from her this past weekend.
Yeah, we are a pitch by committee staff, so part of this time of the year for us is figuring out where people are best suited and where they fit into roles, and obviously with a staff of 5, they're going to have to wear multiple hats in different times as the matchups are presented to us. But in Cece's case, this weekend in particular, she was really, we utilized her a lot as kind of in a closing role type thing, where I would say probably last year she was more in the starting role. And I think that's a really big, closing is not for the faint of heart, right? Like you've got to come in and close out some of those big games against those types of offenses in those high leverage moments was a really great step for her, I think, in terms of her reaching her potential, in all the ways. We know she can start, we know she can get through the lineup 2 or 3 times. But to come in at the end in those high leverage, I think is something we're going to see more out of her moving forward. And I was really, really, really happy with just how she responded to those moments and didn't let the game get too big. Just did what she knows how to do, and that's pound the strike zone, mix speeds, good her velos. She hit 71. She told me, "Did you hear what happened this weekend?" And I was like, I mean, I know what happened this weekend, but no, she goes, I hit the 70 club. And so she hit 70 in a game, and I don't know that she's done that, or at least we're not aware of her having done that. So she was pretty excited about that, and yeah, just really like what she brings to the table in all the ways, as a competitor, as as an athlete, as a performer. So really really happy with just that step in the right direction for her this season.
I want to make sure that Tara's the one that asks about the Shannon Cunningham walk-off. So I'm going to ask another pitching question, because you mentioned, this staff. And as I was getting ready for this weekend, there are so many arms who do so many different things. How do you kind of navigate who you want where? You mentioned Cece kind of being a closer at times this weekend. She also started against Alabama. So how do you navigate the order in which you want people in? Is it a scouting thing? Is it who's hot? How do you coordinate that as a coach?
Yeah, it's definitely a scouting thing. It's more matchup based. So we're going to look at our opponents for that given week. And to be honest, we sit down in December and we pencil out the first 5 weeks of the season, starting kind of middle relief options and then closing options. And it's really based on the opponent. So what type of offense does that team present? Are they fly ball hitting team, a ground ball hitting team? Are they righties or lefties, heavier in terms of handedness? Are they pull hitters? Those kinds of things. So it's more of a matchup, and then we know what our pitchers do well. We know the types of hitters they excel against. So we're going to put them in the best position to be successful against that type of offense as often as we possibly can. So, looking at our staff, and then there's also the part of challenging them to be in a different role that maybe isn't their favorite. Like, I'll be honest, Didi Hernandez doesn't love starting. We used to joke that for Dee Dee to have a successful start, she needs to start with the bases loaded. Like, just start with the bases loaded, put some pressure, and then she's golden. But a fresh inning almost is like, in some ways, a bad thing for her. Not really, but like, she thrives in those high intensity moments. So starting her, like we started her against Oklahoma earlier in the season, like that was a big challenge for her, and that was intentional. Like, come in, be what you need to be in this moment to start a game, and not have to wait till the pressure's on, kind of a thing. So it's heavily matchup based. Sometimes it's a little bit of like who's hot. Sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge, like put them in a role that they don't maybe love. But that's really the fun kind of, chess game that I enjoy doing on the pitching side, is really figuring out the best way to beat the other teams. At the end of the day, that's the goal, right? Is how can we beat these teams? And when you're going up against that level of offense, bang bang every single day, I think that creativity and that I guess data analytics approach has really paid off for us.
And I just hope everybody realizes that those starters are happening in the fall or winter. Like, this is not happening day before. That's being planned out, which is incredible and great insight. But I will ask about the Cunningham Grand Slam, because I just happened to walk on over after the Auburn Liberty game, and y'all were down 4 runs heading into the 7th inning. Bella Espinoza with that bunt single to lead it off. I said, "Uh-oh, here we go."
Here we go.
And you can almost feel it. And I think from being able to watch you all a weekend, I was thinking, oh wow, that, like, I don't think 4 runs is going to be enough. And as soon as that bunt single happened, but what can you say about that 7th inning and what was going on in the dugout? Because that was a Herculean effort, and then to get to Shannon at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, that whole game, I mean, I said this to Bryce, to Coolvey, one of our assistant coaches. I said, today is going to be a grind. Like, you could feel it. Both teams had emotional weekends. Everybody was, Sundays are always hard. I don't care. Sundays are always hard. It just, you could tell it was going to be a battle royale and just last man standing, really, And so I think there was moments in the game that were very frustrating. Like, we had some innings that were not pretty. We had some defensive miscues, and both sides. I mean, Charlotte, I think Courtney, Coach Courtney on the other side was feeling the same thing. It was like, oh man, like this is going to be a battle royale here of just slugfest, as they say. So starting out into the 7th, it was like, okay, all we need to just do is pass the bat. Like, let's just keep passing the bat. And we had a few innings that we were hitting pop-ups. We were flying out. And that infield was brutal, right? The infield was chunky. And so taking some bad hops, so it was like, there's no bad hops in the air. Like, we've got to use the ground. And I really do feel like that was part of, once we started challenging their defense between the bad hops and just, the pressure, it just kind of the snowball. So you get the bunt single, and then there's a walk, and then there's an error, and then there's a hit, and then there's another hit, and then we score. It just was like, you could feel the bubbles were bubbling, and and then you get bases loaded, and you put the bat in Shannon's hands. Shannon Cunningham, she's got as much exit velo and power as anybody I've coached. I mean, truly, she hits some bombs. I think her consistency is what she's working on, but every time she swings the bat, it's got the chance of leaving the yard. And so, you can't script a walk-off grand slam. That's just happenstance. But I thought the whole inning was truly just, getting it done, passing the bat. I think we had 2 bunt singles in that inning. We had a couple of other, we had some mishits. We got some breaks, right? Like, they made some mistakes. And all of that comes together for an inning like that. That's got to happen, right? There's got to be some breaks going your way, and we'll take those all day, every day, for sure.
Coach, I don't know if you know this, but Shannon Cunningham, a couple years ago in the FGCL down in the same area, I think it was 2023. I apologize. All the years run together. But she was the home run champion. So my radio partner and I, Tom Canterbury, we looked and said, oh, a Shannon Cunningham home run in Florida. Not surprised. But it was so great to see the reaction from the team and from her. And you're exactly right. I mean, what a moment and what a way to cap off a great week, because you already had to feel good about what you've done, but to close it like that has to give you so much momentum moving forward.
Oh, big time, big time. I mean, if we had come home 4-1, like there would have been no shame in that. But obviously, the 5-1 just sealed it as the chef's kiss of a weekend. But yeah, I mean, I think that the 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 goal of the weekend was, I mean, we hit that goal and we passed it. And I think a lot of people came home on that plane. As much as we were gassed, there was a lot of confidence. There was a lot of just a lot of pride. Everybody felt really good about the way we showed, and really, we feel like as a program, we've been knocking on the door of being that top 25 team on a consistent basis. And we've been in and out of the polls over the last few years, but it kind of felt like maybe this weekend could be, a signal that, like, we're no longer just knocking on the door. Like, this is who we are and this is who we want to be. And I said this to them too, that this is all awesome. The good news. And then the challenge of that is that now we've set the bar for ourselves, that anything less than what, and I'm not saying walk-off grand slams are going to be like a regular occurrence, but like just the way we played, the way we showed up, the way we made adjustments, the way we competed, the things that we can control, we now have to control those every day. And that's what championship teams, that's what elite teams do on a regular basis, is they don't just have hot flashes and then go back into being just, okay. They've got to be on the edge all the time. And, we're no longer going to surprise anybody. We're no longer going to sneak up on anybody. We're going to get people's aces every day. And that's what we want. It's what we want. It's what we want. It's also going to make our job a little harder, but that's okay. That's what it takes to be at that level and to be the elite team that we are on our way to becoming.
And Nuvi, last one for me. I think one of my favorite statements from you this past weekend is, you said, dare I say, San Diego State has arrived. And I think it just ties a bow on everything that you just said. But when you take a look at this next week, obviously heading to the Mary Nutter, facing Oregon at that first game, what did you say to them? I know you said, we got to keep doing it again, but what is that plan moving forward and heading to the Mary Nutter?
Well, the Nutter is always, a fun weekend for us, because it's a big it's sort of like the Clearwater Invitational in more like in our backyard. So families and friends, and I was actually pretty pleased with the amount of people that we had that came to support us in Florida. So it's much easier for our families and fans to come to Palm Springs. So it's more about kind of resting and recovering the next couple days, and then just boom, gotta ramp it back up again. And something I think as a program we do well is we listen to our players, let them listen to their bodies. So today will be a lighter day. We're gonna kind of like catch our breath, because it was a long trip, emotional trip. We got home at 1:00 in the morning on I guess Monday morning, and that's not something that we do very often, which again was partly why we did it, is that some teams do that every weekend, right? They're on the road constantly. So for us, that was a big challenge, but there's no gimmies in Palm Springs and at the Nutter. So we've got to just kind of tone it down, catch our breath, and then get right back up. And again, the things that we can control, the energy, the intention, the making adjustments, like the physical things that we have control over, we've got to make sure we take care of those things. Because again, Oregon knows what's coming, right? Like, and Oregon's playing well as also. So, and then after Oregon, it's UC Santa Barbara, and then it's UC Riverside, and then it's Hawaii, and then it's St. Mary. So like we've got some mid-major teams that would love nothing more than to knock us back into bring us down to size, I guess. So yeah, it's going to be another weekend and another opportunity for us to just continue to improve and to build on what we're doing and just gain some momentum further and further into the season.
Well, Coach, it's certainly been impressive so far. It was a great trip to Florida, and it was a great conversation with you here this morning. Thanks so much for hopping on Good Morning Softball America. Good to see you, and best of luck the rest of the year.
Thank you so much. Go Aztecs.
That is the San Diego State head coach, Stacey Nuveman Deniz. Yeah, Tom and I got a front row seat to that game on, what day was that? Friday? And by front row seat, I mean scaffolding in the outfield.
I was
But
gonna say, were you in the outfield?
yeah, front row seat like to the left fielder. But yeah, Cece Solura's location in particular, I was really impressed. She was hitting her spots, and her stuff was moving, but it was the location of me that kind of made the difference in that matchup. That was really kind of the only game where the Alabama offense was like stymied from start to finish, and it was because of the way the San Diego State pitching staff was able to mix things up. This is a good Aztec squad, and they're going to be in the mix potentially to host a regional. We're a long way away from the bracketology packet, but
Yeah.
this is a squad that can do some things this year and maybe get back to supers like they were a few seasons ago and maybe beyond.
Yeah, and great insight there from Nuvi. I think learning about Cece not, loving to start and then putting her in that position, and that's the stuff I love to hear because you're seeing, how a player can grow and knowing that she was in an uncomfortable position as a starter and now just embracing that role. So love that Nuvi could join us today and hope you all enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Coach, and thank you to everybody at San Diego State for helping us make sure that everything was all set to go here today. I'm going to make the call now. Please send in your top 25 questions in the chat. We will answer a couple of them. Tara, they can also go to the dugout on the website, and we'll do the whole promo for that in just a moment. But I want to make the call and then talk about one more bullet point before we get to the top 25 Q&A, and that is LSU. LSU looked really good. Nick Torina, you've been very patient. I hope you enjoy this part of the conversation. A couple wins over Northwestern, couple wins over Virginia Tech. Pretty solid field for a home non-conference tournament this weekend. Got the first runs that Emma Limley has allowed this year, and frankly, like outclassed Northwestern. Northwestern was just like not in the mix at all with LSU this weekend. It was a really impressive showcase by the Tigers here the second weekend of the year.
Absolutely. And, I said this, I think earlier, I can't believe it was on maybe on the preview show that I wasn't as concerned with Jaden Havener as Sydney Burzon, but now I think I can just walk that back and say the two-time SEC freshman pitcher of the week. I mean, come on now.
She's doing okay.
Crafty lefty. And what I love is the strikeout lookings. That tells you that ball is moving and looking. It is really deceiving hitters. And a lefty that can spin the ball like that. She's had 12 Ks against Northwestern. I had to write this down. 12 Ks against Northwestern. 5 Ks against Virginia Tech, and those 11 Ks looking. That's a huge number, and I think going to be pivotal for the LSU Tigers, paired with Sydney Burzon as well. So again, really fun to watch. There he is. I know a season ago, the Tigers went 23-0. So we'll see what those Tigers can do.
Yeah, I'm excited to keep tracking LSU because I think that the question that we've always had is like they get off to these great starts, can they sustain it? And we're starting to see, I think, some of the things that can help them sustain it, in particular the amount of arms that they can trust in the circle. And with Heavner and Brazan pitching as well as they are anyway, this is going to be a very hard team to beat. Danica Coffey continues to be on base just like every single dadgum time possible, but also the people behind her are driving her in. And that just makes that top of the order really formidable in an SEC where there are a good number of teams who have very formidable top of the orders. But I think LSU might be maybe, right up there on that list.
And make sure you go on over to the site, head on over, because in the Tuesday trends, Brady has a nice little section on Macy Bergeron and what she's been able to add to the LSU offense. So make sure you head on over there and check out the Tuesday trends where Brady takes a look at various players across the country, and Macy Bergeron is one of them.
Yes, my favorite name to say on a broadcast when Alabama and LSU play, because her freshman year, it was listed in the game notes as if it was supposed to be Macy Bergeron, and we really got to let that Cajun-ness out on the radio. So, and hey, Nick Torina makes a great point. Bryce Neal, it's working. We always say it's the second year with that hitting coach, with kind of the offensive mind, that's where things start to pop. And perhaps we were seeing that down in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, Bryce Neal, best backpack in all of college softball. Yes.
Maybe I'll share the story one day about the interaction that Coach Neal and I had in Kokomo, Indiana this summer, where he was like, "Hey, I know this guy who was your 8th grade basketball coach." Maybe one day. All right,
Okay.
top 25 Q&A. That's a tease for later.
I
The
thought you
top
were going to talk about his backpack. He has this like little tiny recruiting backpack that people give him crap for, and I think it's really cute.
I no comment on the backpack. I haven't seen it, but hopefully one day I'll talk to him when Alabama goes to Baton Rouge in a few weeks. The top 25 is out on the site. Again, we want your questions. Tara, where can people also get in on the conversation on the website?
Yeah, head on over to the discussion board. I think Brady and I were all over that all weekend long. So if you head on over to the dugout, the message boards on the site, you can ask loads of questions. And I know Brady's over there right now answering some top 25 questions. But again, throughout the weekend, we have some tidbits from just behind the plate, sitting behind the plate, watching games, some quotes from coaches. So head on over to the message boards if you have any questions over there, rather on Twitter than on Twitter or X. We're going to start doing more questions over on the message boards.
So, and we'll answer a couple here, but you can also check out Brady's ballot and my ballot over on the dugout as well. I am all for transparency. If you want to see where I put everybody, please go check that out in the dugout. Check out where Brady put everybody in his top 25 as well. Okay, a couple questions have popped in the chat, but I did want to get to one, Tara, that we got on Twitter yesterday. This was from Stevie. When a team has a mixed bag weekend, how do you weigh the good with the bad? And I don't know about you, but this is something that I think about a lot when putting together my top 25, because I don't know how much we really talk about the process, but I kind of update every day, and I'm constantly kind of shifting where I have teams. And really, it's because when I watch, sometimes the results don't necessarily, I think, tell me the whole story about a team. But it's finding that balance of, all right, are they playing good softball even if they're not playing winning softball? And sometimes that can be hard to evaluate, but it is something I take into account. How do you feel about that question that was posed on Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, again, a win is a win, but also in the way that you win, and a loss is a loss, but also in the way that you lose, right? So, for example, taking a look at the Virginia UCLA loss, I don't think that is a huge knock on UCLA. I think that says more about Virginia than it does about UCLA. I think watching games is really, really important. I think you've got to know who's in the circle. I think you've got to know, is it Sunday on a, after 5 games on the weekend, or is it, fresh on a Thursday or Friday with the starter in the circle and the complete lineup? So I think for me, the number one criteria is to know who's in the circle, and how they lost or how they won. And so again, I think that's really, really important to go back and watch games. And you can read box scores and you can see some things, but sometimes since there's some questionable scoring calls, uh, just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's really important to be able to watch film. And our friends at Synergy Sports allow us to do that as well. So just want to give a shout out to them because we are able to go back and take a look at games with our partnership with Synergy Sports.
We are going to take just 2 more questions, and we'll do it quick because I want to make sure we get to 3 big things for the weekend, and then we got to do a hard dip because I have a game to call and Tara's got a lot to do on this Tuesday. Cheyenne asks, who was your 26? For me, I'd have to double check. I'm pretty sure it was Virginia. I had Virginia
Same.
at 26 in my ballot.
I think we both had Virginia. Yep.
Yeah, Virginia was the first team out. And honestly, in the Wawa parking lot at about 11:30 Eastern time, as I was submitting my ballot, I was still like, I think I should put them in. I don't know. I was toiling, but Virginia was my first team out.
Yeah, both you and I had Virginia. I was looking across the board at what others had, but I'll let them share that. Indiana
Indiana was in the mix.
Yeah.
Rebecca, Arkansas at 10. Is that solely because they haven't lost yet? They always have potential, but IIRC, oh no, I don't know what that means. They haven't played anyone challenging yet. IIRC.
If
I
really care, if you really, please let us know what that means.
Oh my gosh, and I'm the young one, and I don't know what that means.
You just call me old. You just call me old.
No, I didn't. But like, I was called an infant earlier in the show, and I don't know. Bye, Rebecca.
Yeah, strength of schedule. Again,
Yeah.
strength of schedule. I think when you take a look at Arkansas, and then again, like you take a look at an Oklahoma State or Texas Tech or even Alabama, dare I say it, because I know it's going to cause some controversy. Again, I think it's strength of schedule. But Bree Ellis, go on, Bree Ellis. Great start to the season.
If I remember correctly. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Rebecca. Oh,
Thank you.
Cheyenne's got it. Everyone knows it except us.
Hey, you learn something new every day, Gray.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
I will say one more nugget on Arkansas, because I know we've discussed this a little bit as well when we're talking. If there's a team that we don't get to see live, or maybe we kind of have to go back and watch, there will be times where I'll hit up some coaches who've played them and ask and be like, what did you see? Like, what did you think? Let's talk through some of these teams. And so I've done that with a couple squads, and Arkansas, I think that this is a pretty talented Arkansas team that we just haven't seen be pushed yet. And I think the fact that they haven't been pushed yet is kind of masking how young they are, because that was the main thing I heard about Arkansas. It's like, well, they're very young, and it's obvious when you watch them. So we'll see when Arkansas gets a little bit more going, how maybe the experience of the youth shakes out for the Razorbacks. And perhaps that'll come this week, because Tara, it's time for Three Big Things, which is it this one? Let's see. I remember which one it was that I played last time.
This is just music.
Oh, here we go. I found it. I think they changed it up. Three Big Things.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, they've definitely changed it up. Shout out to Restream. So, Three Big Things. The Mary Nutter is this week. Arkansas will be there. We've got Nebraska, UCLA on Thursday, Duke, UCLA, Tennessee, UCLA, Tennessee, Oregon, San Diego State, Oregon. A lot of big-time matchups to watch out west, Tara.
Absolutely. And Sydney Supley's going to be out there. She's got a tent, a Softball America tent. So make sure you guys head on over and say hi to Sid. And we'll have some sweatshirts and shirts for sale. This has nothing to do with the games per se, but she's going to be out there, and there'll be some Softball America merch on sale. Yeah, I think when you take a look at tournaments, historic tournaments, the Mary Nutter, it always has my heart. And I love that tournament. It really does. I love that tournament. I was able to play in it decades ago, and there's just something really, really special about that community, about the staff that puts it on. And every year I sit and think this is what it's all about. 6,000 fans coming in and out of there through the turnstiles, if they have a turnstiles. I think you just walk through the gate. But I love Mary Nutter, and I hope if you are in California near Palm Springs that you head out and watch these incredible matchups. I've got Nebraska UCLA circled. I think that's going to be a good one. I hope Jordy throws in that game, and I think that's going to be a fun one to watch.
I do have UCLA Arkansas circle, because I kind of want to see how Arkansas does, with the big spotlight. Tennessee, Oregon, pretty big test for Oregon, because they've faced one power team and lost. Tennessee gave up 2 runs this past weekend down in a tournament. A couple tournaments, actually. They kind of traveled around. So we'll see which team kind of rises up here this weekend at the Mary Nutter. And hey, Sydney Supley, if you want to send me one of those tri-tip sandwiches, still never had one.
You've never had? Oh, you've never been?
I've never been. Alabama went in 2016. That was the last time. 2015, maybe 16.
Nothing.
Uh-oh. There we go. She's back. Okay, the last two things before Tara has to go. Tussle in Tucson, Texas, Arizona, and Stanford will all be facing each other here this weekend. And a little Aggie Knoll action on Saturday, a doubleheader down in Tallahassee. Tara is gone, so I will answer the question. The matchup that excites me the most is definitely Texas Arizona. I want to see that Texas pitching staff against an Arizona squad that has a player like Miranda Stoddard, one of our stars of the week, who just is hitting homers and bombs and tanks all day long. Tara, Longhorns Wildcats, that's going to be fun.
Oh, I love that you said Tussle and Tucson. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch. Texas, Arizona, and Stanford. Again, I'm just sorry I jumped off there, guys. I'm back, but big test this weekend again for Arizona, I think, and really like what Caitlin Lowe has been doing with the Wildcats this season, and got my eye on how Stanford does. I think this is a good litmus test for Stanford and the Cardinal.
Stanford plays well, they'll be in the poll.
Mhm.
Guarantee that. I am ready. They're right there, just beyond some of the Virginias that are on my list. And then, like I said, Texas A&M at Florida State, doubleheader on Saturday. That'll be a ton of fun. All right, Tara, as we close, what's on the site right now? How can people check out what's going on in Softball America?
Yeah, head on over to the site. Stock up, stock down every week. That's a great piece. It's on there. Obviously, the top 25, the Tuesday trends, which they talked about, the stars of the week. So, who shined this past week is up on the site. And then again, tomorrow, those composite rankings by Jason Ray will be up on the site for y'all. Oh, and I did a little piece on Clearwater. So, what I saw out Clearwater on games I actually sat and watched, and teams I spoke to. So, little short piece up there on the website. Let me know what you think. And just appreciate you all. Thanks for joining us. And gosh, I know we're a little on a Tuesday, but maybe we'll do Tuesdays because it is kind of hard with travel, Gray. So I don't know. Maybe we need to switch over to Tuesdays. You guys let us know what you think. Is this time good? Should we do it at night? Let us know.
Definitely not at night if we're doing it on a Tuesday, because midweek some scares
Monday
me.
night. It could be
Mon-
Monday night. Monday night.
Maybe. Although we do a Monday night
Tuesday.
softball, you know.
Could be. Let
We'll
us know.
see.
Guys, you guys let us know.
Let us know in the comments what works
Yeah.
best for you, and we'll adjust. And thank you
Yeah,
for
why not? It's about
adjusting.
you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for adjusting to us this week, because travel from Florida was kind of nutty, but we're both here. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Tara, it was wonderful to see you, even for just 3 minutes down in Florida, and it was great to talk with you here today about everything that happened in week 2.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. You're the best. I'm glad you guys drove safe. You and Tom have a good call tonight. And thank you all for joining us. Appreciate each and every one of you.
Like, subscribe, share, and check us out next week on Good Morning Softball America. For the great Tara Henry, I'm Gray Robertson. Thank you so much for joining us. We will catch you next week.